Hello, hello, and welcome or welcome back to the Curious Coaches Lemonade Stand with your host, Dr. Gina. As always, we are seeking to invite you into this warm and sunny neighborhood virtual third spot where you can always count on finding something interesting, insightful, something yummy and delicious that we poured into your cup to talk about how we've taken life's lemons and turned it into some delicious lemonade. I always have some amazing guests here, and today is absolutely no different from that. I'm so excited to welcome to the Lemonade Stand today from all the way across the globe, across the pond over in Europe here is Renata. Renata, I'll hand over to you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Gina. Thank you so much for having me in your show. That's a pleasure to be able to share a little bit of my story in Reconnect as well. That's a very good question, the one that you asked me, because often I ask people who they are and they start with their title, right? I am,
Yeah.
and I work with this, right? So I will start differently, so I don't fall into into my own questions, right, of who you are. I think
I love that.
I'm a vibrant, communicative connector. I love sports. I love animals. I love nature. I love to travel. I think a lot of people will resonate with me.
Yes.
And I'm very curious. I'm a very curious person as well, and this allows me to, get to know new places, get to know new people, get to go through adventures with very little fear, because I don't know, I just trust the process when I'm doing things. I'm originally from Brazil. I had moved,
Wow.
yeah, from Rio de Janeiro.
You guys are brasileira singing it. I've heard
Um,
that.
yeah, I am. This is my fourth immigration. So I left Brazil in
Wow.
2005 to Buenos Aires, Argentina. I lived in Buenos Aires for 8 years, and then I had moved to Melbourne in Australia.
My
I
goodness.
lived there for another, and then now I am in Italy, and I hope past immigration, Jaina. And I'm here for, it's going to be 2 years now. It's just time flies. I can't believe it's been so fast. So this, I
Those
think,
are
shows a little
incredible
bit of
moves.
my curiosity as well.
Yes, definitely. That actually demonstrates that you embody that curiosity. It takes you where you will. I mean, it's one thing to travel a lot, and I'll say this from my personal perspective. I love travel. Moving, immigrating across the world that many times, that's a different level of courage and curiosity and openness to trusting the process. So you're definitely that talk.
Yeah, I'm trusting him.
Love it, love it. So I was so excited to read about what you do at your company. I want to learn all about this. Could you share with our viewers, with our listeners, all about Reconnect?
Much everything that I just described you. I think it's the energy to connect people, the curiosity to get to know different, not just environments, but people as well. And I think that moving country to country, I realized how hard it is to start from scratch, right? With
Yeah.
community, with work, with connections. It's so hard. Like, I think that although some people tell to me, I understand you, I think unless you have done that, you would not understand, right? Because it takes an extra layer of not just courage, but I think of um, of time. Time is a big component when you move to place
Mm,
to another place, and having the patience to get to know the people and connect with
yes.
like-minded people, right? So giving a little bit more of a background of what I do. I am a graduated journalist, which also I think reflects on my of connecting with people and curiosity, because journalism, I think it's one of these professions that bring this to light, right? Because you have to, when no, and I'm a sports journalist, so I like sports since I am a young kid, and I decided to do something that I was passionate about, but also that I could use my skills, right? So the
Yes.
connection and the curiosity thing, and that's where everything connects. Moving from country to country, that the sport was a very good tool to connect with people in a
Yes.
genuine way, right? In a
Mhm.
that is not through a conference, through work, that you get to know people for who they are. You
Oh, I
generally go,
wholeheartedly agree.
yeah, to do an activity like a movement thing as a hobby, like it's something that you enjoy doing. So you go with no, how can I say, there is no interest more than you going to have some fun or to, or to exercise yourself for your health. So
The
it was a
investment
great
is
way.
genuine. You're being authentic,
Yes.
I would say. Yeah.
Listen, so everywhere I was going, I was getting involved. So the sport that I was doing, especially now towards my last 15 years, is cycling. So I always
Mhm.
going finding like a cycle people that were riding the bike, because that was a way that I had to get to know people where everybody was with their guards down. Nobody was thinking about job and business and what do you me, like everything we want is just to
Yes.
ride together,
So
right?
transactional. This is instead refreshing, and it's about the actual love of something that we share. That's such a different feeling and a different kind of glue to bring people together.
Mm. When I was in Australia, one of the roles that I had was one of the last roles that I had before I started my business, was with a networking community of business people, of C-level executives that were connecting through riding the bike. This is where
Mm.
when I realized that actually all the things that I've been doing on my last 25 years since I left Brazil could be actually a business. I had connected the dots that was actually possible to do something like that. I thought it was just like you can go and do it, but it's just natural, like normal. I don't know how to, it was just like a not for profit, let's put it this way, right? But actually you could do a business around it, because ultimately with people through an activity that you put people outdoors and that they are facing a small challenge. And when I say challenge, it's not that we are hiking the Everest or something like this, but we are just like pushing each other physically. This is the
Mm.
most, uh, how can I say, authentic or genuine
Yeah,
way to actually connect with each other. Because this is a
wholeheartedly
moment that
agree.
you actually can help each other,
Mhm.
right? So then now
And
after,
it's not just the physical too. It's this mental, emotional, psychological. Something my husband and I both athletes, and something that we've always talked about is the disappointment of coming into the corporate workforce, in that we thought that a corporate team would function like our athletic teams. That sense of camaraderie, that genuine, we're focused on the same thing. We're not competing with each other. We're competing with each other. So many of those things fall apart, as you say, in the transactional corporate world, and it gets really inauthentic. And it's such a welcome and refreshing change to enjoy and experience it the way that you're describing. So I'm loving this. I'm totally on board for this journey. Keep going.
oh, I think that the biggest problem in corporations or in businesses is that you put together teams of people that not necessarily have the same goal. So
Yeah.
people there that want to do a career. There are people there that just want to have their paycheck. There are people there that is just like a transition. There are people there that are giving their whole life to be there because they want to, this is their life. So you you can be in the same organization but with different goals. The thing is that
Yes.
also, unless you are there because you are there for because you want to make a career and you need to be out loud about it, any other reason you can't really be yourself and speak about it, because it can be dangerous, right? So it's like if you get a job and you say I'm just here because I want the paycheck, they're not gonna hire you, right? You to be fully
Exactly.
invested in the business, right? Or if you were to say, look, I'm here because I just want to get a job for a few months. I am actually planning to get pregnant in the next
Can you
year.
imagine?
You will never get a job, right? You never get
Yeah,
a job.
I'm
How
around
many
women
women,
in pregnancy to get a job. Like,
got a job pregnant and they couldn't say that they were pregnant during their interview, right? So
Definitely.
look, she got a job just to be able to get a mortgage to buy a house. She was
Mhm.
on her job for 6 months, just enough for the bank to see that she had, she had some funds, like some savings. She could buy the house, but the bank would not give her a loan because she needed a job. So the purpose was just for that. But when she applied for the role, the way that she positioned in the interview was like, this is the job for the next 20 years, and I am here because I love. When we were having a coffee, she said, forget about it. This is not the reason why I got this job, man. So what I'm saying is, we are not our authentic selves in environments, and fair enough, you can't be, because
Yeah.
otherwise you would never get a job, right? And
And I think that's knowledge too. That's something that I think is very difficult for people to acknowledge, that yes, and both of these things are true. Yes, we do need to do these things for these reasons, and we can't acknowledge them in that particular environment. It's not going to work out for anyone involved.
so when you ask them, a team, to work together towards the greater of the company, and they are all in different places, how can you
Yeah.
put a team together? It's just so hard, because not everybody are being driven by the same North Star. You know what I mean? There are
Yes.
people there, they are. So if I'm there just for the paycheck, I'm sorry, I don't know a different word, but why would I get a fucking improving the team and going every day and doing the hard yards? I just want to be there, get my salary, go home, and off we go, right? So then becomes really hard to hire, right, the right people, to build teams, because people are in different places, right? It
Yeah.
actually, it becomes very expensive for businesses to invest in people, because when they are,
Definitely.
getting action, the person say, you know what, actually, I just got this job to get a, and I don't need this anymore. Off I go. And then you need
Yeah.
to hand over to
So
someone and
we're
go
from
over again.
scratch. Yeah.
Exactly. So you know, what I'm saying is, it's hard to build teams that
Yeah.
perform in companies and have the same North Star. It's very hard to put together these people with the same type of mindset. So um, where I'm going with this is, what I decided to do with Reconnect is actually to create an environment where we can either try to understand where the North Star from people and put them in the right place in terms of, if we are working with the leadership, or alternatively, which I think it's the most important, to create trust in between people. You're not going to get that trust in a corporate space. You need to get out of there and get to know the people from who they are, right?
Amen. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, your authentic you, sitting on a chair in a meeting room from your business, corporation, whatever you're working, and somebody goes there and asks you, who are you, right? It's a harder thing to respond place like that, because you don't feel. It's not just you don't feel, you don't want to say the truth, right? You don't want to,
You don't know
and
how
you
safe it
can't be
is.
yourself.
You don't know
You don't
what
know
the
how safe it
consequences
is.
are. Yes.
100%. You don't know what the for that. What I'm saying is not that, you know, outside of this with your leadership team and telling the truth, you're gonna be any safe, right? Maybe you're not. But the thing is, the the type of environment that we create, or the type of dynamics we want to do is, okay, how can we at least get the best of you, right?
Yeah.
That environment, so then we can try to work together, or that you feel safe enough. I don't know how
Mhm.
explaining this.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing, so what I'll kind of reflect back. What I'm hearing is it's hard to discern how safe it is. Can you trust people? Can you be your real, genuine self? Can you answer questions authentically when you're sitting in a boardroom, for example? So it's almost as if you need to physically change the space, is what I'm hearing, so that people can recognize it. I think it's important. even neurologically how that will trigger in the brain. I'm somewhere different, so maybe I can see it differently. There's different expectations of what that space is. And if you're not in a boardroom, this is why I always say, I'll conduct retreats for boards actually, and I'll say we can't do this in a boardroom. We need to get out of that space because physically, this space is reminding you of the structures and limitations that can create lack of safety, like the opposite of trust, the things that we don't want present right now. And we need to get out of that and put ourselves into a different environment so we can almost recreate an ecosystem that reflects our values and create a North Star together.
People can actually trust each other, right? And trust is a very high currency. I used to say that
Mhm.
trust is a one-way bridge, right? You go one way, like you break the bridge of trust, you burn that bridge, you can't return, right? Once it's
Yeah.
broken, you kind of can't rebuild. It's difficult to trust someone after they did something to you that you lose that trust, right? So,
Yes.
um, however, when you build the trust, and you understand, the individual behind the title. It's no longer the CEO, it's no longer the CSO, the CFO, the whatever it is. It is the person. It's Renata, it's Gina, it's John,
Yeah.
it's Matteo. Um, even the business, you understand where I'm coming from. Like everything is
Yes.
just different. So, for example, especially in sales, that there are long sales process, and there is this game, right, of who is
Yeah.
winning what. Like, there is the game of I wanna, that sometimes you feel being taken advantage of something, or they are hiding something, or there's some. When you actually get to know the person and you understand, look, what you have can help me, and what I have can help you, right? So why don't we just do business together? Why just we
Yeah.
don't do something amazing together? And this is, again, not going to happen on a Zoom call. That's not going to happen on a boardroom. That's not going to happen on a corporate space. You get to step out of the zone and get to know the person and understand what's going on behind it, why they did that, who they are, what they're doing. And I'm going to give you an example to make it easier, a story.
No.
I did an event in February in France where the niche was life science. Yeah. And there was two people each other trying to make business for over a year. But one person was in Boston, in France, so there was time zone issues. There was, a lot of things that they couldn't always was online. And then finally they get together in this event that I did in France. We did a hike, and for reasons of, the destiny, I don't know.
Yeah.
One guy was trying other, but they were having these conversations and just online. But one of them, when they were hiking, had a cramp. Yeah, so he needed to slow. So again, by chance, we're trying to do business together, but they weren't there to do business. They were there to hike together. But one started to help the other.
Mm.
Yeah, they started to help the other, and the other sharing the food, sharing the water. Again, we're not on the Sahara Desert, right? But we're just slowing down. They were together. They were kind of working as a team, and they started to ask questions like family questions, dog questions, wife question, challenge of the business. What is going on? Tell me the story of the business. You started this business 10 years
Ah.
ago where, when AI was just people were not even talking about AI. That's when the guy started his business. And how was the challenges? One came from India and moved to the US. How did you do that? How was this transition? Right? And they get to know each other, who they were, not about anymore the contracts and the deals and everything. And I remember
Mm.
how beautifully the relationship between them two we started to unfold, from walking together, being outside, exercising, having a challenge, right? And then other topics started to come up that were not related to, to the money, to the business, to the number. And
Let me
this happened on a Saturday after we finished the event. Of course, within the event, I do some talking about ourselves without exposing too much the vulnerability of people, but enough for them to connect in a deeper level, getting to know
Mhm.
them better, right? Getting them better, asking questions like, of the questions that I asked in this event was, tell me about the person that inspires you right now. There were
Yeah.
people, Gina, going on tears who inspired them. Were one of them, there was a daughter that was sick with cancer. She was 5 years old. Nobody knew about this story. So you were there
Wow.
negotiating with someone for 1 year, not even having of the challenges that this person is going through on the back end. And now you can understand why they were not making all the calls, or why it was too hard for them to think about a contract, or why, you know what I mean? So now kind of you
Mhm.
connect the dots because you get to know the human being. You get to know the human being in first. So then you have more empathy, you more,
Yeah, you can be a
um,
human being when you get to know the human being.
you know what? I also have something going on in my life, right? It's
Mhm.
this and this and that. This is what inspires me today. This is the person, or I understand where you're coming from. When you come from a place of compassion, of empathy, even the conversations changes, you know, the tone of the conversation, you know, and it's so much easier to understand now why. And then you build this beautiful bridge of trust that you now say, you know, now I can trust you and we can do something together. And what happened after that was we got to know better everybody. Two guys that tried to do business, they did.
They did.
And
Yay!
they did. So and this is the point, right? It's after you experience a weekend, someone that is intense, intentional,
Yes.
and you get to know who you are and who I am. Now you're doing business between
Yes. Yeah.
uh, things change, and I have what you want, you I have what you not, and then things happen. Build a better world like this. Go. So cutting the story short of all this story, Reconnect is just where business becomes human connection. What I want after all this story is to let people it themselves as humans first, and business comes as an outcome of it.
Oh,
Because
that's
then you
beautiful.
build the bridge of trust. You build the bridge of empathy, compassion. You understand what's going on with one and the other. And then we are talking human to human, right? So it's
Yeah.
Renata to Gina. It's not reconnect to, you know, your business, right? It's human to human. And I think this is a, in a world that technology, AI, it's all over the place, that people are in this mind that it's going to take over everything. I don't believe in that. I think it's going to facilitate a lot of things, but we
Yeah.
still need the connection. We still need us behind it to
I
make
think
it
we need it
happen.
more than ever. I think, when I'm doing, whether it's a keynote talk or coaching leaders around this, my messaging is really that AI is actually going to drive us to be more human. It's going to make human connections, human relationships, all of the skills and capacities and capabilities around those things become even more important and even more highly desired skills in a C-suite leader, especially. And so that doesn't come automatically, though it comes with intention, and so there's so much in what you're saying and in what I'm hearing and seeing as Reconnect's mission that really aligns with what I do as an executive coach and with, what I answer, the classic question, how do you answer a 5-year-old who asks, what do you do? Well, I know I've had to answer my kids over the years, and I say, well, I try and help leaders be more human. I try and help human. And so in an age of I think that's incredibly integral. I think that makes a lot of sense. We need to turn up the volume on our emotional intelligence when artificial intelligence is so readily available.
For events and facilitate these sessions, because it's not just, and we are in the program of talking business as well, because it's the yeah, it is human, but you see, hey, getting to know each other, you start to understand, okay, so if I was to search of you online, it would be different than having a conversation like I'm having now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even more different when we get to see each other in person and we do something together, even a walk or something. The reason why I added the sport into this is for a couple of reasons, right? The first one is believe that When we are outside in connection with nature, we are actually with
Mhm.
the connection with ourselves because we are part of nature,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
So
yes,
this is
100%.
where I think we are kind of in an environment where there is no um, you're free, right? You're outdoors. You're not like in
Yeah.
a room, you're not in a meeting room, you're not in a boardroom like you are. You're outside. So this also, brings up the endorphins and the oxytocin, right?
Yeah.
All the good stuff from the body. And you are moving, right? The movement, it's something very, very important
Yes.
to this. The other thing,
Yes.
Gina, is that when you're walking next to someone or riding next to someone, you are shoulder to shoulder, right? So there is no confrontational conversation. So it's
True.
not like if you are talking, looking into someone's eyes, and if you're a little bit of an introvert, you feel
That
intimidated,
that's a
right?
great point. That's a
Right?
great point. I can think about teaching, around the cultural competencies. And, oh, something people in just debating back and forth for decades, right? Is the eye to eye thing. Well, so and so doesn't look me in my eye when I'm speaking. They're not ready for a promotion, for example. And it's like, well, there's a lot of reasons that they might not. Yeah, you just mentioned introversion. It could be a cultural thing. It could be something in their backpack that I call it from their lived experience that's created, that whether it's discomfort or even, fear reaction around that. I love that you're thinking about getting people shoulder to shoulder and beside one another. That matters a lot. And I think even if I put that into the context of what I was saying earlier about teams, I'm very much a team sport player as opposed to an individual. That's always what you're doing. You're not facing your team, right? It's if we're on the same side, that's almost adversarial even. So I love that concept of shoulder to shoulder. That really does matter. I've never really thought about it.
It does older than so imagine if you were to drive your car and instead of having the person next to you have the person in front of you. There is a moment that you get sick of this person in front of you. You want to get away, like you're sick of looking at them. But if you have somebody driving with you, yeah. And I will tell you something, Gina, very interesting. In Australia, some schools were parents to have discussion with kids in the car instead of because in the car the kid back, the parents sitting on the front, and they can have a conversation without confrontation. So then the
Hmm,
kid doesn't the pressure of the parent to talk about certain problems. So think about it. If
that
you
is
have a
so
problem with someone, yeah, it's better to
I'm
take them
just gonna
for a
say that's so
walk.
synchronistic. I literally was talking with my son last night about a problem, and we talked it out in the car. He wasn't, I was going to pick up my other son from work, and he would normally stay home. And I said, "No, come with me because we need to talk about this. Just sit beside me in the car and let's talk it over." And it just amazed me how much that changed the dynamic and how quickly we were able to, get to a place where we felt like it was resolved. So that there's a lot to that.
If you go for a or if you go for a walk or a ride, right? The conversations along, let alone that as you are walking, driving, or cycling, whatever you're doing shoulder to shoulder, you are seeing different things. So you're being stimulated of different things you're talking. So we are talking about a very stressful topic, but then we see this beautiful mountain. It's just impossible for me to don't stop to you and say, Gina, wait, 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 wait. Look at this. Have you seen this before? Like, look at this view, right? Or uh, look at look at this place or what we are going through. So there is really power in the shoulder to shoulder conversation, especially with people that you don't know very well, especially if you are an introvert, if you are having a difficult conversation, or even a business conversation, right? Because you don't have to be in that confrontational, I have to answer straight away in order to prove myself a point or something, right? So
Right.
there is power to show. The reason why we create the experiences hiking, cycling, and outdoors, for the purpose of allowing people that don't know each other to have the space to also be quiet. The silence is uncomfortable as well, right?
Holding
But if you are
silence. Yeah. That is one of the most difficult things that I try to teach when I mentor coaches is the ability to hold silence, or even leaders who are trying to be more coach-like in their approach. Because our tendency is to, oh, it's uncomfortable. I'm going to talk through the silence. Maybe I need to re-explain myself. Maybe I need to help this person respond. But that silence is so powerful.
Um, you know, being comfortable being next to someone and not speaking with this person, right? Being just
Mhm.
comfortable with the silence, right? So yeah, there is power in the sport component. It's a way to kind of practice all these little things in a way that you are. I'm going for a hike. Actually, you're doing a lot of things in the hike. Like you're learning a lot during a walk
Yeah.
outside, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is really multi-purpose, and something I share with my coaching clients a lot is, I think coaches will often, I know I've been coached a lot to reflect and to do so in very, I'm going to say, traditional ways, which would be, meditate, journal your reflections. And I will always say to my clients, listen, if you're not someone who enjoys journaling or meditating, it's okay. I'm not the one. That's not how I get into a meditative state. If I need to deeply reflect on something, I need to be in repetitive motion. And so for me, the times that I can think most deeply are when I'm cycling or when I'm swimming. If I need to work something out in my head, that's what I go do. I need to get on my bicycle or I need to get into a pool or preferably, I wish if I were where you were, it would be the ocean. And just that motion of just swimming or just cycling, it's the aha moments will just generate. Like, I know some people, it's the shower, right? I think those are my shower moments come when I'm either cycling or swimming. So there's something about that movement that stimulates a place for me to be truly meditative and reflective that I can't get to when I'm not moving.
Now that is very democratic is that it kind of
Yes.
it first is democratic, but the second thing it put people into the same level. Right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if you go there and you are going for, I'm going for a hike with the president from Brazil, better than him. He's no he's him. You know, he's
Mm,
following me, not following him. Right. So
true.
the title no longer is important in a situation
Yeah.
like this. You know what I mean? You go to the
Yeah.
mountain for a ride, you go for a walk, and suddenly everything equal. So even in environments of females and males, so many times females are stronger than men when they're doing this. So suddenly everything
Wow.
everything equalizes. We are all in the same level, right? So it doesn't really matter what you're doing, how much money you have, right? We are
Hmm.
doing something together. So art is really a very powerful tool that if you
Hmm.
can use it, I think there is so many different ways to use the tool of practicing sport, and definitely one of them is to make business. So that's how I put the sport, which is
That
also
is
part of
so
my life,
interesting.
into
Yeah.
reconnect with this, to help people to be in an environment that the how can I say that the protections go lower, everybody goes,
Mm.
you know, um we do, everybody works together, we need to get to the top together, right? So we separate in groups, some groups go faster, slower, but whatever happens, who gets to the top, wait for who, who is getting after. And it's a
Hmm.
whole celebration, right? It becomes a very um it's a whole celebration, because as well, when you achieve something together, it brings up good
That's
stuff into
exhilarating.
our
Yeah.
system. Yes, exactly. And then you are open. When you are happy, when you are
Oxytocin,
excited, when you,
all that. Yes.
come on, Gina, let's do something together. Do, like there is this, creates this. So bringing this more into that
Yeah.
are so stuck um into numbers, into performance. At the end of the day, if you're not good with yourself, it's gonna happen.
That is a really energizing way to build trust. I love it. As someone who's committed to inclusive and authentic leadership, this is so deeply resonant. I love the way you use the word democratic. It's democratized the way that you're is. I love that.
I have
No,
a
I think
mixture
English
of
is
language.
fabulous.
Yeah,
I
thank
I
you.
think it's the perfect word. It just again, it resonated so much because I didn't think of it that way until you used the word, but I thought, yeah, that captures it. It creates an even playing field. And so for someone who is so invested in inclusion, that really matters. And it's a very perhaps different approach than people would normally think of. And it's a way to, again, I'm going to capture that in my head, build exhilarating trust. That's that accelerates trust to me to build it in
Yes.
that kind of way around a win that you're sharing together that's not about the business, but you bottle that and take it back to the business. That's really, really powerful.
Once, um, early this year, and somebody asked me, Renata, what's your vision? Right? What's your
Mm,
bigger, what is this going to? Right? And I said to him, what I'm going to say is easy, but I definitely think that I can do it. When I say something like, what to change and impact the world, somebody's going to say, one more person wanting to do something that changes and impact the world. But think about this. If I put together environments like this on a weekend, two people that don't know each other, they get each other because of the ecosystem, right? They know from different areas, and they are trying to do something that because they need that connection, a connection that they didn't have, they're creating that environment that actually help to change another thousands or millions of people. And again, another story. I was in an event once that I did, and I asked a CEO to do a CEO of a bank to do a speech about his life. I didn't want him to talk about the bank. I wanted him to
mm-mm.
talk about him. Yeah. And he's about his journey that nobody knew coming from, what he was doing. He was about his daughter that lives in London. And then one day he went to visit her and there was nobody, the person that do the dishes didn't come. So he went
Mhm.
to the kitchen to do the dishes for her. Right. And we're talking about one of the biggest banks in Australia. And then you think, this guy would never do something like this. He went to visit his daughter. They had a coffee shop in London. The dishwasher person didn't show up. He was there. He went to the kitchen to help her.
Love,
He is
love
a
it.
father. He is a before everything else. You think that because the guy's the
Yes.
CEO of a bank, he doesn't put his sleeves up and wash a plate, right? And then he was talking about all his story, how he manages things. And at the end of this event, another person that works in well came to me and he said, Renata, thank you so much for bringing this guy, right, to talk
Mhm.
to us and talk about his story. You know that today we are going to have a meeting that we were going lay off 400 people in the bank. And I just had a different idea after this conversation that
Whoa.
that, right? So
Wow.
imagine I all I did, Gina, was to bring someone to share the story. He was very powerful and he influenced the else that was listening to that story and that made a different decision because he was in a place of power and influence as to change so many people's life. I'm not saying that he didn't fire 400 people because of Renata, but what I'm saying is that I was a seed within the whole ecosystem that helped
Yeah.
him to make a different decision, right?
Yeah.
I said what I talk about impact and changing the world, right? It's
Yep.
just
No,
one
that's
person.
a
You just
perfect
need
story to
one person,
illustrate it.
right? Is you being one thought, one breakthrough, one
Mhm.
story, one connection that can change everything. So if this
Yes.
is what Connect can do to forward, right? I tick my box. I can go to heaven or hell, whatever they're gonna take me with. Okay, I fulfill a purpose. I think exposing people to environments, conversations, breakthroughs, connections that can help them to perform and be better after that. That's a win. And very special.
That is. You never know how that I love how you capture that, how that one moment, that one story, that one connection, just that exposure. That's the word you use, being exposed. That exposure to one thing, person, idea, thought, story is going to ignite a completely different chain of events, a completely different mindset, even that's going to set lots of different chains of events. I'm going to share one that's not business related, but it's just so pertinent to you, Renata. And I remember being in university. It was in my undergrad years, and I wanted so badly. I had created my own program. I studied languages and politics, and I wanted so badly to take Italian. I love languages, thought, okay, I'd already spoken French, Spanish. Let's take Italian, romance languages. It makes sense. And the Italian course, before I could register, because we could only register on certain dates, was filled. And I went to the professor and I said, please, please, can you enroll me? I know you're already at the limit, but please, I've been waiting to be able to take this course. The professor wouldn't allow it. I was heartbroken. I thought, what am I going to do now? And I'm looking through the course calendar. What am I going to take as my other credit? Portuguese. Huh. I've never thought about Portuguese. I ended up studying Portuguese, changes the entire trajectory of my academic career because I decided I want to focus on Brazil. And so I end up doing my master's, my PhD graduate work between Cuba and Brazil. That's how I got to learn about the country and to study the language. Let me tell you, the first time I landed in Brazil, I realized being taught by a professor from northern Portugal had not prepared me to land in Salvador. Like, well, what language are we speaking here? It's like a day or two for me to catch up. But now I can't even imagine. Now when I visit Portugal, they're like, "Oh, you're Brazilian." I'm like, no, I've spent so much time in Brazil. I can't speak in a way that sounds like Portugal again. But all of that to say, it changed so much, not just of my life. Tomorrow, I will be attending my husband's fourth batizado for capoeira. My kids have been very active in that community, not Brazilian. My kids are a Jamaican, Chinese, Thai family. That's our mix. But everyone in this house, except me, ironically, is a capoeirista. And that's because of how much I studied in Brazil and ended up doing a little bit of work and studies on that. And my whole family getting involved in it was an Australian mestre. I just had to share that because it just brings together all the country imagining. And his wife used to live in Buenos Aires. All the things. So I just thought I had to share that because one little change in not being able to take Italian took me on this very different road. I don't think anything I just described to you would have happened had that Italian professor let me into his class.
You see how we are all connected after, and we connect with each other. I don't know. There is a crazy energy, something that actually just attracts alike people. And this is the thing, right? I don't think that Reconnect is for everybody. Yeah, I think it's for a very niched people to be there. It's people who actually like sport, but adventure, right? It's people that are open know new things. It's for people that want to connect differently. Not everybody's
Yes.
open for that, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that, right? There is people that say, no, for me, it's the numbers, the performances, this and that. That's all good. It's all fine. But we connect alikes, right? And what is interesting is that since I started Reconnect, Gina, I didn't need to, of course, I look for a lot of people to join and to be involved, but there is a lot of referrals because people want to share how this works to other people
Yeah.
because they see what can happen to them and their business and, and they want to bring more people in.
Those
And I think this
feelings are
is,
contagious.
and that's it.
Yeah.
It's contagious, 100%. Think the business, the community, the thing is gonna grow and maybe it's gonna have a different shape in the future. I don't know. Let's see. I'm kind of, as I said in the beginning, trusting the process. I hope the process knows that. Right? But it's like one foot, it's going after the other, trusting that things, when it comes, I think the first question that I asked when I started Reconnect was, okay, and I'm doing the good, right? What I'm doing with this is a business, of course. We need to make money, need to live. That's the world. It's capitalism, that's how we need to do things. But what you're doing is going into people's life in general, right? Are you going to be able to impact them in this way? And sometimes it's not through business. It's just a connection that they made in an event or in an opportunity or within the Reconnect group. And this helped them into different things. That works as well. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So So the name Reconnect actually two things, Gina, from
I'm
the
so glad.
reconnection of
That
people.
would be my last question for you. Like before we check out, I need to know how that actually came to be, and I also it's spelled too. It's with a K. The Reconnect.
mm, So I was so the job that I had in Australia when I came to Italy, they closed their business, so I was made redundant. Yeah, the business finished, so I was fired. And I thought, oh my God, what I'm gonna it's the next step, right? And I said,
Mhm.
I don't want to work for somebody else. I think I am in a point that I already made so many risks. I already moved so many times, and
Yeah, that's true.
let's right. And it's as somebody said to me, you're not building Reconnect from yesterday or from last year. You're building Reconnect your whole life, right? You've been doing
Mm.
this your whole life. You just didn't know that this was a business and it had a name, right? So my experience is not from what I did before, it's for what I did my whole
It's
life
from who
pretty
you
much.
are.
Uh-huh.
It's from who you are. I think that's an important distinction. It's not only what you did, it's who you are because it's capturing the different parts of you that were probably more fragmented and compartmentalized. You're unifying them into an authentic expression of who you are. And that's really what you offer.
So I was walking I went for a walk in a forest, just like what I do with and so I went for a walk to think, to clear my mind and to think of how this was going to look like. And a thought was coming repeatedly to my mind, which was Renata connects, Renata connects. I came back home
Mm.
and I sent a message to a friend of mine. I was already talking to her about what I was wanting to do and things like that. And so my name in Portuguese, Gina, spelled Renata. Yeah. And my
Right.
nickname
Yeah.
in Portuguese is Re, R-E.
Ah,
And then I said, this name, Renata Connects, coming to mind. And she said, you should start a business that's called Renata Connects. I said, this is a terrible name. I'm not going to start something with this. Horrible. And then she responded back and she said, but hey, Reconnecta, a nickname, Reconnect.
yeah.
This is the word. So reconnect means two
Wow.
things, right? Means reconnect people. And there is the RE, which is my nickname as Reconnects, right? Reconnect
I love it.
as Renata connects people. So I started to search for a domain, and of course, reconnect as a phrase, as a verb, is a verb, so it's already taken. It's a domain. If I want to buy reconnect.com, it's super
Mm.
expensive. I think any verb that you can buy. So I started to play with words, and I said, what sound like reconnect, but I would have it available. And then I found the domain, as simple as that. Then the story of how it came up with the K, that with the K would sound as reconnect, right? But I would have the domain available. And then the reconnect.co, then with the C and the O, I can make the infinite symbol, like as the connection, right? So that's how it was created.
Ah,
Yeah, that's the story.
beautiful. I love
That's the
all of the
story.
meaning and symbolism. That's a beautiful that you just, taken us behind the curtain to see the whole recipe of how this came together. I love it. I love it so much. And, as I mentioned, I'm going to close our amazing conversation today with a tarot card pull because there's been such high vibes and energy in this conversation. I can't wait to see what's going to come out. So, viewers, listeners, if you haven't seen or heard this before, I'm always shuffling the card and I do it on camera to let you know I don't know what card's going to come out. This is the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshi Yoshitani, which I love because it captures the messages of the tarot with these beautiful illustrations that reflect stories, myths, folk tales from around the world. Oh, card came out. We got the Empress. The Empress is the card of creation, the card of fertility. If you want ideas to come to life, you want to pull the Empress card. And that's I said in the beginning, and I'll say it again. The cards never lie. The right one always comes up. The fact that it's also the divine feminine energy, and it's you and I talking about women who are creating their own businesses that are doing so that are doing it in a way to, I mean, the Empress is the one who creates life. She is the most fertile. Think of her as the mother of the whole tarot. So for her to do this, she is always nurturing the best ideas that are going to bring the best to humanity, almost as if they're all her children. It's that kind of feeling, that kind of mindset, that kind of energy and frequency, and eternally creative and never wants for anything. She knows that she can always create what she needs. She's completely self sufficient and resourceful, and yet never ever operates from a place of lack or of a scarcity mindset, but always that there is abundance for all and she can create if it's not already there, and she will always share and nurture others with it. So what a perfect card. And it's the Virgin of Guadalupe from Mexico that is demonstrating, it's embodying it here. And I can't even imagine. If I were to just sit and say, let me choose a card, I don't think I could pick a better one. So this is just, like you said, the vibes are immaculate. Well spoken.
stuff. So that's perfect. Thank you so much, Gina. That's amazing. That's beautiful. I love it. It's perfect.
Thank you.
It's a perfect conclusion to everything we are talking about. It's
It
um,
is. It
it's
is.
a win-win as well. You know, what we are doing with Reconnect has to be everybody needs to leave this winning, right? And when I say winning again, in all different ways, in all different perspectives, but that's how I think the world should be, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets something out of everybody else, and it's an exchange. And this is what I'm
Yes.
trying to bring to life.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time today, Renata, to share this energy, to share your story, how this all came together. What is your impetus and your motivation for having created and built this, and just the way that it is something that you believe in to the core, that is something you embody and are offering out to the world. Thank you for sharing all of that with our audience today. It's so, so meaningful, and I'm so appreciative of being in your energy and of being here to be able to discuss this with you, and looking forward to collaborating in the future because there's just so much alignment. It would be crazy not to.
Sorry,
Right?
I already know that we are connected.
Exactamente. Thank
Is that the... Thank you. Thank you. That
Well,
was very
take
good.
good care to all of my listeners, all of my viewers. Thank you again for stopping by and sticking with us all the way to the end of today's episode. Reminder again, if you want to reach out for any of my services, so executive leadership, life, personal coaching, or as a keynote speaker, or even if you have a thought for a next episode of the show or interested in guesting, you can check me out at drgina.ca, and you'll find it in the description box below. Thanks so much for joining us today. I know that I got a tall glass of refreshment. I'm sure you did too. So thank you to Renata. Thank you to all of you for being here. And until next time, be well.